challenge to then get back in the saddle. But I'm on it. I'm all over it. This is one of my favourite subjects of all time, because flow state is where it all boils down to this link between mind, body, soul, this connectivity between what's running up here versus what comes out of here. Your body will not go where your mind doesn't push it, is what we like to say. You cannot make your body do anything if this is not engaged and your foot is on the gas and your other foot is off the brake. When we drive with foot on the gas and foot on the brake, guess what happens? Massive burnout. That is why I take every August off, because I know intrinsically how to actually get in my own way spectacularly enough so that you reach that full burnout. Anyone here done that? Anyone done full engine burnout before? Your hands going up straight away. Yes, yes. We've all played that game, haven't we? Where we on the surface, it looks brilliant. So today's session could equally be called Why I Quit My 80K a Year Job in Order to Find My Flow. That's the other title for this session, because I've lived this to the nth degree. I'm not even joking. It was full on collapsed lung, pneumonia, and hospital for 3 months before I actually went, hang on, this doesn't appear to be working anymore. And on the surface, I looked brilliant. I had the flash car, I had the flash house, I lived in London, I owned 2 houses in London actually, but I was completely out of alignment. And what happens when you're out of alignment is that you, unfortunately, are effectively doing that foot on the gas and foot on the brakes at the same time. To get back in flow, to feel ready for this glorious piece where it all just like click, 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 click. When it all works, that's what I specialize in these days, because I've done the opposite. So I hope that makes sense so far. And I'm not telling you about my fancy salary and my fancy houses to impress you, but more to impress upon you how what society tells you is winning ain't always the bag. What society tells you you should look like doesn't always cut it. What we learn when we come back to this flow state, when we come back to these 5 pillars that I'm going to talk about today, is something way deeper and way more powerful than that. You reconnect with your why. You reconnect with what you're here. This sense of purpose is everything. When you are in flow, nothing stops you. Things move out. You become like this elephantine moving through the universe, and things move out of your way because you become unstoppable. That's what this is about. That gives me goosebumps. That's what flow state is about, is when you get to that point where it just, of course, you start saying to yourself, but of course, because events line up, things move out of your way and things move into your way deliberately. And it's a glorious feeling of living life on purpose. So if that's exciting, jump in the chat. Hello, Paola. Jump in the chat. Tell me where you're listening in from today. And those of you on Team Replay, I want you to actually email me or connect with me on Facebook and let me know that you're hearing this, because whether you're Team Live or Team Replay, I love connecting with you around the world. I hope you come and jump into my community as well. I've got the circle on Genius U. I've also got my sisterhood group, which is non-gendered. It's just the spirit of sisterhood. Hello, Marcus from Switzerland. And so what I love doing is connecting with people and then connecting with you further when you're ready for the next dose of help. Ollie Incas from the UK. Hello. Peter from South Africa. Hello, Peter. I hope you're on the mend. So when I connect with people, I honestly respect you wherever you are in your journey. If you're not ready to jump in with me on one of my courses or on a one-to-one, that's fine too. Love you, whatever stage you're at. Love that you found this free resource. That is fantastic as a starting point. When we're ready to walk together on a course, I've got some people in the room here. Lovely Karen's been on Trinity with me. Lovely Archie. Hello, Archie. And I'm a little bit fired up, Archie. A little bit excited to be back. And this is what happens when you understand flow state in your body. You know how to switch on and off your biochemistry, which is what I do on a regular basis, which is why I can maintain the high level of peak performance that I do for the time when I'm working. And then I maintain a level of slothfulness that is unbelievable for the time when I'm not working. Like, you would not believe how very little I've done for the last month. Practically zero. It's been brilliant. And so knowing how to dial up and dial down your chemistry is what we're about. Hello, Alastair from the Malverns. This is lovely. So let's get a frame for what we're doing today. I'm going to talk through flow for about 35 minutes. And then I'm going to pull it together with the 5 pillars and this autotelic personality that we need to talk about. And then at the end, I'm going to make you an offer for those of you that do want to continue the journey with me, because we're just about to go into September, which is my next year cycle starting. And that's when my course called Flow launches every year. So if you're ready for that, I'll tell you about that at the end for those of you that want to hear it. If you don't, with love, go on your merry way, and I'll see you on the next live, which will be in another 4 weeks' time. Third Tuesday of every month is when I'm on. So what is flow? What does flow look like? What does flow do? A, flow looks like this when you're buzzing with the energy of living on purpose. But B, flow looks like the opposite as well. Flow is about the duality. Understanding flow state is about knowing, it's about how to control your concentration, but that also means when to put it down. It also looks like when to stop. A lot of courses forget that bit. A lot of courses teach you the foot on the gas, foot on the gas, foot on the gas, and they forget that what that leads to is you run out of fuel. They forget that what that leads to is living entirely in your masculine energy, your yang energy, for those of you that prefer the non-gender terms. You have to have both. The universe relies and demands both from you. When you only live in your masculine, and for those of you that have been in city environments, that's what that looks like. And that's that very driven, very motor, very go, 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 hustle, hustle, grind, grind. And that leads to one result. It leads to, firstly, immense success, and then it leads to self-sabotage like you would not believe. Why? Because what you do is then you try to get yourself out of pain. Because the universe demands both sides of the mountain, the side in the sunshine and the side in the shade is the Eastern way of describing this. So I'm a peak performance consultant with Genius U. So I've trained to their highest level of both being a flow consultant and a peak performance consultant. What does that look like? That looks like getting you to the balance of skill and challenge. I'll say that again because this is really important. You need goals that meet both the skills you have and a challenge level that's acceptable to you. So if the challenge is too low for the skills you have, you fall into boredom. If the challenge, conversely, is too high for the skills you have, you move into anxiety. Now, the difficulty about that is trying to work out what that goal should look like is one of the biggest things that people get wrong. So peak performance is about this balance of skill and challenge. It's also about how to enhance your motivation. So the big companies that I work with, people like Merck Pharmaceutical, people like the big law firms, the big banks that I've consulted with in the past, they reach a certain level of success because they've worked out how to turn the dial up on the motivation of their employees. But this is the thing. The motivation only gets you so far. Because actually, what we need is something completely different. So let's just do a hands up here. And in the chat, I want you to give me a 1 if you agree with this and a 2 if not so much. So have you ever been in a situation where you've got all the reason in the world to do something, you know you should, yet you still can't make yourself do it? Just jump in the chat and give me a 1 if that has ever been a situation in your life, and a 2 if it hasn't. Look at that, straight in. 1, 1, 1, 1. And for those of you on Team Replay, it's instant. Everyone's there. 1. Okay. Now, why is that? It's because you logically know you should, but it's not yet a must for you. And here's the trick. It might even be a logical must. Oh, I've got to do this thing. Still can't make myself do it. I had this today. Supposed to phone HMRC. Could I force myself to pick up the phone? No. Because the pain level of doing it is higher than the reward it will obtain for me. I'll say that again because this is an important bit. The pain level is higher than the reward it will obtain for me. Only and only if the reward becomes higher than the pain threshold will you start to move. And this is flow state in a nutshell. You cannot obtain flow state if doing the actions you want to do causes you pain. We are pain avoidance creatures. That's just what we do. So peak performance is understanding that it's not motivation you need, it's inspiration. Inspire comes from the Latin word to inflame, to blow into. And it's about feeling it here, not here. You can have all the logic in all the world, but that's just information. Until you integrate that information and Karen's nodding, she knows this one, until you integrate, you will not get transformation. Information on its own is not enough. All the books have already been written. Oh, look. Oh, I can reach from my seat. All the books have already been written. There is all the information you need out there. This is brilliant, by the way, Whole Brain Business book. I wrote my profiling tool from that one. This is brilliant. Your Body Keeps the Score, all about polyvagal theory and how this integration happens. I read all the books so you don't have to, by the way. That's my job. That's literally my job. I love it so much. I do all the research and then I pot it down into hours like this so you can absolutely get to that integration level so much quicker. My job is collapsing time for people, getting this happier. Karen's saying, so true. Misery starts in my head, happiness and inspiration in my body. Yeah, because we know this. We know this. We've just forgotten. We've forgotten, and especially in this era where all the information is it's in the palm of your hand. It's right here. You know, we've got everything you ever needed in information. So we've forgotten that missing link of remembering who you are and then integrating into this action piece, because information on its own is not enough. Knowledge is no longer power. It used to be that the more you knew, the more you could do, but now we can know everything. Hands up here. Let's jump in the chat again. Let's do another 1 and a 2. So give me a 1 if you agree with this statement and a 2 if not. Hands up with a 1 to anyone in this room who has attended a session similar to this one and then done bugger all with the information it contained. If you've done that in the last year, give me a 1 in the chat straight in there. Look at that. 1, 1, 1, 1. We all do this, don't we? We all do this. We go along and we go, yeah, and then go, now what? And we lose this gap between the information and the integration. Guys, I'm here to teach you the magic, which is about flow. So when we get in flow, we move from just that knowledge piece to power. Power comes from action. I'll say that again. Power comes from action. You can have all the knowledge in all the world, and I could talk at you, but you've got to do something with it. So I finish every session with a call to action. Either join me on a course or download this PDF or do this thing. There's always something to do after my sessions. Why? Because I'm here for your long-term growth. I'm not here for short-term, which is why I bought in at the partnership level with Genius U, because I like longer-term relationships. I don't like the sheep dip in and out, you know, of just one hit wonder and then gone. I like to work with you guys for enough to see your journey as well, because that's what thrills me. That's my purpose. That's my why, is helping people grow over a journey of evolution. I'm not here to sell you a one-trick pony piece of software or a, you know, buy this book and it will solve your life, and nothing does that. Growth comes from continual, concerted control over your concentration. So let's talk about that. So what is flow? Flow is control of your concentration. Flow is clear goals that stretch you and give you immediate feedback. So they've got to be at a challenge high enough so that you go a little bit into anxiety. And that's ideally why I'll always say, get a coach. Please get a coach, whether that's me or somebody else, but please get a coach, because coaches help you by holding you safe through that anxiety of growth. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Fear comes from when we step out of our comfort zone. And by the way, only 2% ever do. Only 2% of people ever do that. Only 2% will be willing to put their skin in the game and step over that line and say, I'm in for this. Why? Because it's so comfortable to stay in your comfort zone. Your brain loves it. It goes, oh yes, I know what we're doing here. Brilliant. Yes, I know exactly what's going to happen. But those exceptional rewards, those exceptional results, they come from challenge. They come from stepping out of comfort zone, but doing it safely. Because flow is also about lack of fear of losing control. So let me unpack that one for you. So we've got control of concentration, we've got clear goals with immediate feedback, and about this lack of fear of losing control. So where we get to the point of growth is when we're able to challenge, so we go above that line of challenge, but we do it holding ourselves safe in the knowledge that the anxiety that it brings us ain't going to kill us. Because that's all we're trying to do. Your brain wants easy. Your brain is still wired like a cave dweller. Your brain has got to this year, 2022, by always doing the easy option. You're not wired to do hard. Why do you think it feels hard? Because your brain's trying to de-incentivize you. You're not supposed to do hard. You are supposed to reward for pleasure, though. We are pleasure-seeking beings, guys. We love pleasure. I've just been in France for a month. They know what pleasure's about. They are all about this lovely, glorious sinking into the pleasure of food, the pleasure of wine, the pleasure of society. You know, the cafe society in France is a big thing. They're about connectivity and, you know, in a way that I just really vibe with, which is why I've come back like this. Because I'm a pleasure-seeking creature. I love it. And for me, learning how to hardwire pleasure into my brain was one of the absolute exploding moments which changed my life. My business went up 300% when I learned to wire pleasure to my results. I can teach you how to do that. It's amazing. But when you hardwire your neurology to this neuropsychology of success, guess what? You become a pleasure-seeking missile and you start to move towards it. The reason I hit 100K in my first year of business isn't because I'm some sort of business genius. Yes, I've got a strategy, but so have a lot of other people. That information is out there. The reason I hit 100K, and I actually did it in 11 months in my first year of business, was because of learning this principle of flow and this principle of peak performance. That's it. The strategy goes around that, but everything else is up here. The strategy only flows out of your fingertips and through your keyboard and out into the world if you're wired towards pleasure, because why? You have to control your concentration. Now, admission, I am fully aware I am very neurodivergent personality. I'm fully aware that I am very ADHD. I'm fully aware that my brain skips off like a butterfly. My ability to control my concentration and my ability to set the clear goals is what's led to my business success, despite all of that and with all of that. So wherever you're starting from, you too can learn these magic tricks. Now, there are a couple of factors in this. When we're talking about peak performance, which is about effectively skill development, it's developing skills that you don't have yet. So when you haven't got a skill base, you're more prone to zoom into, and let me just pull this up for you so you can see it as I talk. Have I got one here? Yes, I'm sure I have. I use this all the time, so it will be in one of my little graphics here. So when we talk about this balance between challenge levels and skills available to you, what we're talking about is how to balance the growth of your skills in a way that is sustainable. So let me say that in a different way. Balancing your anxiety with your growth is actually what we're talking about. Now, there is a factor in this, which I will just mention briefly. I mentioned it more extensively in my last session. So if you want to go and look, please do. That will be recorded. That will be on the YouTube that Duncan will have helpfully loaded up somewhere. When we talk about looking at the balance, what we're talking about is how to hold yourself. So I've just got off a call with a very senior person in government. I've got some very high level clients that are obviously anonymous for lots of reasons. And this person is very skilled, very experienced, very professional, also very prone to bursts of emotion that lead to him being in tears. This is very embarrassing for him, and he doesn't feel comfortable with this. So we have been building him a toolbox of neuro hacks that stop him losing that perceived control. No emotions are bad. They are just ones where you do feel in control or you don't feel in control. So one of the toolboxes we've been building is one where he can short circuit anxiety. And that is such an incredibly powerful thing to do. So I'm just going to show you this quick little graphic so that it brings it home. So this is taken from the book called Flow, which actually I'm just going to grab and hold up and wave at you for those of you that want to know it. So this is the book, if you can see that on my little head, floating head. I'll show it again in a second when I stop sharing. So you should be able to see on my screen, this is a PowerPoint presentation where I've literally just taken a picture of the book. So if I give you a quick explanation of what flow state growth looks like, we start at just playing tennis, for example, batting the ball back across the net, and we go, oh, this is quite cool, and we're at A1. Then it gets to be a bit boring as our skill level increases to the point where suddenly just batting it back across the net isn't enough of a challenge. So what do? We change partner. We then move to this A3 position. We actually get a bit stressed, where we move to a position where to upskill ourselves, we have to buy in a partner that's bigger than us, right? And so we then get to the point of almost anxiety of like, oh, don't know if I can hit this one back, slashing wildly again, until we upskill again and we move back into flow state. So the ideal growth of flow state is a up challenge, up the skill to match it, up the challenge, up the skill to match it, up the challenge, up the skill to match it. And then you will progress in this beautiful upwards direction. Now, here's the trick. If you can learn to hold the anxiety whilst you are upskilling, your trajectory takes a steeper path. You begin to elevate your trajectory in a much faster way, which is what I mean about collapsing time. So just jump in the chat and give me a 1 if that makes sense to you. Give me a 2 if you need a little bit more explanation, because I'm not going to move on until I'm sure that everyone's got this bit. So yeah, perfect. Good. That's enough 1s for me to feel comfortable that people are getting it. Good. So when we're talking about leveling up on your skill development, what we're actually talking about is being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Is learning to hold that feeling of, crap, I don't quite know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because that's the bit that turns it from just information to integration. Light bulbs? Everyone getting it? Good. So how do we do that? That's the magic. So when we're talking about the lack of fear, we're actually talking about the feel the fear and do it anyway mentality, another great book. The idea of gaining momentum, which then, guess what? Gets you more results, which then, guess what? Compounds you taking action. That, in a nutshell, is the neuropsychology of success. Ta-da! That is how this works. We take action anyway, even though we feel a bit of anxiety. Doing so makes you feel like you're living on purpose. You then gain some results. When I hit that first 10K month, I emailed my coach and I went, oh my God, this stuff actually works? And he went, well, yeah, of course it does. But until I hit that first 10K month, my brain was slightly telling me that it didn't, even though I could see all these other people doing it. I didn't know it was true for me. As soon as I hit that first 10K month, I had evidence, I had data. My brain then knew this was possible. So next became the 20K month. Again, until I hit that, I didn't know if I could. And then I did, and it was like, but of course. And then it was the 30K month, and now we're heading towards the 50K months. And it's, this is how it works. It compounds. And so my results have gone like that, because as soon as you start to see the proof, you get more in flow. And you start getting to the point, yes, Archie, taking action in spite of fear, T. Harv Eker, The Millionaire Mind. Amazing book for those of you that want it. So we start to understand this idea of flow is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, let's get real. Are you still going to have days of doubt? Yes, of course. Are you going to learn to keep going and doing it anyway? You bet. That's what this does. As soon as you learn how to get yourself in flow state on a consistent basis, I'm not talking about needing to go and have hot baths and hot chocolates and self-care. No, I don't mean about repairing yourself when you've broken yourself. I mean about getting to the state where you are consistently, move aside, I'm coming through. Getting to the state where you are consistently living in your power every minute, and knowing how to hold the duality of when you're not. Because I still have days where I wake up depressed too. That's okay. That's part of this game. But it's then getting back on the horse. And it's knowing how to keep going and get yourself back into flow state more consistently. So it's about this consistency of effort, where the effort that you make is enough for you to develop the actions that create the results. So I'll say that again in a slightly different way. Peak performance is about holding the anxiety while you develop the skills to enhance your motivation that get you to the rewards. So how do we do that? Ta-da! This is how we do that. We learn to utilize two things. One is the chemistry in your brain. Two is the triad that results from that. So I'll explain what they are. So the chemistry in your brain. So we know, and this book talks about this a lot. So that was the book that I held up earlier for those that didn't see. Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, best name ever. It's the classic work on the science of happiness, basically. And this is the optimal psychology of success. This is it. Everything in this book is what you need. That's what I've written my courses around. There are other books as well that are as useful, but this is like the Bible for us flow consultants. Now, the chemicals in your brain, when they did EEGs, so that's electric encephalographs, that's when you look at the electricity and you see what's firing and wiring. So what fires together, wires together is the way we think about it. And when we think about how your brain works, we're thinking about what waves are running. So we know that flow state comes from when we've got high theta waves and moderate alpha waves. So we want to boost our theta and lower our alpha. How do we do that? Answer, you work with a neurocoach like me. That's how we do that, because there are ways we can do this. We've got this amazing system in our brain called the dopaminergic neurological system. So dopa is one of our biggest drugs. So you know that feeling, and hands up here who does this, little bit of mindless flicky scrolling on a regular basis, right? This is what we do now. We've been trained. That little pull to refresh thing, yeah, someone developed that deliberately to make you do that. Someone's worked out how to release the dopamine in your brain. Don't you think it's kind of a cool idea to learn how you're being played in this life? Don't you think it's kind of a useful trick to understand this science so that you can control how much you get played? Because these are tools, right? I run my business from this. I just did a call from France. I did a 1 hour call for my Trinity graduates, of which you've got a couple in the room here. Hi guys, Archie and Karen are here, and they were with me on the call in France as I was all glammed up in my posh villa with a pool, feeling very glowy and very sun-kissed. And we were able to work from there because of this amazing technology that connects us all, but it's also a massive time suck, right? And again, let's do the stand up, let's do the be counted thing. Give me a 1 in the chat if you agree with this statement. I have, in the last month, spent more than 1 hour a day mindlessly doom scrolling. Hit me up with a 1 in the chat if you've done straight in there. John, you get my prize. Well done for your honesty. Excellent work there. Karen's in. So more than 1, massive ones, says John. Inca's in. So this is my point. What else could you do with that hour? Many more, says Rob. But this is the thing that we all do, right? Because we're being played. Because they know about the dopaminergic system. Don't you think it's a great idea for you to know about it too? Dopamine is released in your brain. It's the seeker drug. So we have this seeking system for a reason. Remember I said how your brain likes easy. Your brain likes to be safe in the cave, chatting nonsense with your mates around the fire. That's what we're wired for. But then we had to go and hunt a woolly mammoth. We had to find some way of rewarding the people that were going to take a risk to go and risk death, to go and hunt said woolly mammoth, to come back to the tribe. We did 2 things: aggression, connection. We award the testosterone drive of the grr, the masculine. We reward the seeking, the achieving, the striving, by giving a massive hit in the brain of dopamine. That is huge. We then do something else. We reward with oxytocin when we come back to the tribe. So this feeling of belonging, I wrote a post about this the other day, this feeling of belonging, this feeling of I've made it, this feeling of connectivity is based on the old cave dwellers getting that sense of connection when they come back carrying the leg of said woolly mammoth over their shoulder, puffing up their chest like this. And everyone in the tribe would be like, oh, you're amazing. Wow. The trouble is we've now linked that to money. Some of you will be sitting here feeling less than because you haven't yet hit your revenue goals. Some of you will be feeling less than and unworthy because you haven't yet made a business success out of your mission. Some of you may even be feeling there's something wrong with you. Some of you will be feeling you're getting it wrong. And some of you may even be feeling that the universe is against you and that there's some reason that you failed. Because we love a bit of meaning, don't we? We love to apply a bit of meaning to a totally unrelated circumstance. I had a brilliant moment where we were, Peter saying, wow, yes. I had a brilliant moment where in Paris, we're about to leave this glamorous apartment. So we had our villa time in a pool, and then I love to educate my babies to other cultures, to other things around the world, and to do that you've got to live in it. So I had a beautiful apartment in Paris for 3 days and 4 days, and it had a rooftop view of the skyline of Paris. It's stunning and beautiful, amazing. Watching the lights go down over Paris is something I think everyone should experience, and so I gifted that to my babies as this summer's amazing rebirth of holidays. And so we're sitting there like wine in hand enjoying this, and then the next morning we have to load up all the bags, and it's utter hell with kids, just utter hell. For those of you that haven't done it, yeah, don't try it sober. It's never a great idea. And so we're loading the bags, getting everyone out. And then I'd made this very sensible decision to go and collect the car from the parking to save some of the utter hell of unloading from an apartment. So I went to get said car, which is at the bottom of the village of Montmartre. For those of you that haven't been to Paris, you've got this amazing basilica on the top, beautiful white building with this glorious, huge dome on the top that can be seen for miles around. It's like the only hill in Paris, but that means there's an awful lot of steps. Now, normally there's a little train that goes up and down, the little funicular, and you buy a little ticket on the top, you sit on the train and it just runs you down the hill, really easy. So we heard the kids through, we get there and train's shut, funicular fermé. So it's like, oh God, got to walk down the steps. I start walking down said steps. It's at that point that I remember I've left the ticket to exit the car park in the flat. So I then, I have to admit this out loud, right? I have to say out loud, okay, sorry about this. Everyone, come on, turn around, come back. But what do? I instantly kick in my neuropsychology of success. I instantly go, what can I gain from this? So as I turn around and begin to usher these hot, like we're talking 37 degrees in Paris on this day, hot, fractious kids through the square, I see the same seller that's been there with her beautiful, so any of you that know Montmartre know it's an artist village. So you've got all these displays of artwork all around you. You've got these beautiful paintings that these people have worked and laboured over. There's been one that's caught my eye for the last 3 days that we've been walking through this square and eating in this square and living. And so I stomp straight up to this lady and I decide the meaning I'm going to apply to this is that painting is mine. So I stomp straight up to her and I'm like, that one. And she says to me, yes, sure, but my card machine's upstairs. And I'm like, I haven't got time for this, but the universe wants me to have this picture. I know it, otherwise I wouldn't have forgotten that ticket, I wouldn't have been here. So I apply the meaning of there must be some reason that I've got to go and do this. So I stomp up the stairs with her, saying to the kids, stand there, don't buy anything else, right? Stomp up the stairs. And I go, and she's got this little box, and I'm not kidding, this little box is under lock and key, and there's a chain around it. And she has to get out this padlock unlocker and take the chain off and then take out the card machine. And all this time I'm there like, seriously, university, is this the meaning? Is this the meaning? But I'm like, this is coming home with me. I've already decided that whatever it takes, can you hear what's going on in my head? Whatever it takes, I'm going to do. So then I get my card, and then she says to me, as I lift my phone up with the card in it, she says, no. She wants a card inserted. And she's literally talking about the machine in third person. She wants a card. And so by then I'm really fed up with life a little bit. And I've actually got a picture of said lady unlocking said box. Look, that's her literally taking the key and taking the box upstairs in the cadet. And so, but I've committed, right? I've committed to this. So I start rifling around in my bag looking for a card, and then I pull the card out and I put it in and I enter my PIN and it says card declined. And I'm like, I could quit, right? I could stop now. I could say the universe is giving me enough clues. But why don't I? Because I've already decided the universe is for me. I've already at a deep level integrated to this idea that the universe wants what's good for me. I've already committed at a very deep level to always getting what I want. So what do? I come downstairs, I stomp back into the square, at which point the lady is seeing my determination. And so she goes to the next stall holder along and she asks if we can use his card machine, which works. So I get my goals because I am relentless. I get my goals because I am so committed to my outcome, because I'm in flow with this understanding that the universe is for me. Now, that is not a superstition. That's very different than saying, for example, because I've bought this crystal and I wear it in my bra every day, that somehow magically clients are going to land in my lap. No, that's different. That's superstition. I am intrinsically motivated, not extrinsically. I have learned this neuropsychology of success to the extent where I can switch it on and off like a tap. So how do we do this? There's 5 pillars that I've mentioned. You might want to write this word down because this is an important one. I haven't got enough time to give you chapter and verse on this word itself today, but you might want to go and do a little more research on this one word. So the word is autotelic. So that's the word auto, like a car, and telic comes from the word goal. So auto means self, telic means goal. It means self-goaled. It means I set my goals and then I make sure they happen. So autotelic is the reward in and of itself, not the extrinsic. So that whatever it takes statement that I used earlier, that principle is that I've already decided that I am worthy of deciding. So if I have decided to do something, I move everything else out of my way. Everything parts for me to come through. I'm coming through. So I will find another card machine. I will find a way to make this work, because I will find the way or make the way. That's flow state. That is the intrinsic nature of flow. So autotelic means self-led. So autotelic comes down to these 5 things. Again, you might want to write these down. The balance of these is what determines whether or not someone's in flow or not. So we've got conscientiousness, which is about how much you're going to pursue. So that's another word for that is grit. So we talked about grit last time, and grit score is something I'd urge you all to do. Conscientiousness is about the organization of effort. So that's why I'm a peak performance consultant, because it's about organizing the effort given, not just necessarily putting in. Everyone puts in effort, right? It takes a lot of effort to procrastinate. It takes a huge amount of energy to not do something. You should have seen me this morning with HMRC. So, by the way, I've got an amazing team, and my team did the call for me. Just like newsflash, there are ways around things. There's always a way. There's always a way. So the way that we organize effort is your conscientiousness. The next pillar is openness. So openness is about openness and to experience. So like me chunking all my kids into a car and tromping off around France with them for 3.5 weeks, that's my openness to being inventive, in being curious to what else is out there, not just living with what I know. That's the stepping over the line. That's the 2% that we talked about earlier that go out of their comfort zone. The next one is extroversion. So this one is a little bit, I'm a little bit on the fence about this one, because I know some incredibly successful entrepreneurs that are very introverted. But whether you're introverted or extroverted does make a difference as to how readily you will challenge a defective card machine, for example, how readily you will push yourself out of your comfort zone. So there is something to be said about that. I talk a lot more about this in my course, which uses a personality profiling tool, which is to determine how you get you personally in flow. So this is the Big Cat Business Brain, which I've developed in conjunction with some top software engineers to analyze your answers to a set of questions and a set of adjective pairs to then give you a definitive percentage of whether you're the cheetah, the lion, the leopard, or the tiger. And those 4 brain types are very key to understanding how to be successful for you, because it's different for everybody. different for everybody depending on your percentage types. And that's what I go through in my course. Stick around at the end if you want to hear more about the Big Cat Business Brain, because that's what I'm going to talk about. So once we've talked about the extroversion, we need to talk about agreeableness, which is about how critical you are and how open you are to other people, but also how critical you are of yourself. Because who is your biggest critic? Who is the worst voice chirping away in your head about whether or not you can do something? Yeah, those voices are you. Those things telling you whether you can or you can't. Well, whatever they're saying, they're right, because you'll believe them. So that chirp, 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 we've got to get in control of that. That control of concentration is so important. And then the final one, which is neuroticism, to use a word that's quite a funny one. It's not about being neurotic, it's about how sensitive you are to that anxiety piece. It's about how much you let worry control you. It's about how sensitive / nervous you are of being out of control. So what I said earlier about being in control, moving away from that lack of control, or moving away from the fear of the lack of control, is actually what a lot of flow state comes down to. So when we look at these 5 pillars, what we're talking about is, and this is called the Big 5 factor method that Csikszentmihalyi in flow identified as being the key way to identify peak performance and why people are more likely to reach it than others. So if you can get the control out of this, what do you get? You get to end procrastination for good. You get to be in control of what you do and don't do, or what you, as I do, delegate out to other people. You get to gain control over your momentum, because suddenly we can collapse time. We can change our trajectory by changing our flow channel from this to this if we're more comfortable with anxiety, right? If you can hold anxiety in your body and not have it be enough to put you off, that's when the magic happened. And that was when I began to really understand how to compound results, because my results are unreasonable. They are unreasonable. I have days where I make, say, £10,000 in GBP, which is what I'd earn in like a month or 2 months before. That's unreasonable, right? When you do that in a day, that's not normal. And I have days when I'm like, how is this my life now? Where I sort of realize what's going on and pinch myself at some of the things that I'm asking myself. And you know, when you get to link that to pleasure and be in control of your dopamine so that you do more of it, that's when it starts to roll downhill really faster and faster, and you start to have to run to catch up. So if this sounds exciting to you, I'm going to move on to talking about flow. So my program Flow is about to launch. I'm so excited. This is my signature program. And by the way, it's so signature. It's why I'm invited in to do things like this for Genius U. It's why I'm platformed on stages around the world talking about this stuff. I've just spoke at British Small Animal Veterinary Association. So that's a global conference. It had about 4,000 people there, and they put me on stage for 3 hours to talk about this stuff. And I've just had an email this morning saying, hi, I saw your thing. It wasn't long enough. Need more of it. Need to book you in to come and deliver it here, here, and here. So it's, you know, this stuff works, and this stuff is platformed because of it. The stuff that I do is about making the very complex very simple. I hope you feel that today has been logical, and I hope you've taken away a lot of points that you can immediately start to apply. But what I do in my courses is I work with you and walk with you for a longer period of time than just 1 hour to make sure that you action, to make sure that you implement, to make sure that you integrate. That is one of the biggest reasons to have me on your team, because the action part is where everyone falls down. I know it, I've done it myself. And that's why all of my courses are built around several weeks engagement with me. And then at the end, a Q&A and a closed eye session that integrates and pulls it into reality. And those in the room that have done my closed eye sessions know they're powerful as hell. And just those on their own are worth the cost of the course price with me, because for that 1 hour, we talk directly to your subconscious brain. We get your conscious to sit back down on its chair in the corner, and we go deep to the wiring layer. And that's where we get a lot of the shifts after working with me throughout the course. That bit at the end is the rocket fuel that accelerates you to the next layer, which is so exciting for me because that's what I love. That's what I live for. My clients have got 6-figure businesses, 7-figure businesses, and 8-figure businesses. I work with a couple of the multis where their deals are like 20 million, ridiculous levels, way more than I ever make. But that's the point, is my stuff works whatever level you're at, whether you're just starting out and you need this to get you in alignment and to get you going, or whether you've already built your business and you need this to rocket fuel you to the next layer. So Peter's asking, is that something like hypnotherapy? Hypnotherapy works by making your brain more suggestible, but it doesn't actually unwire. My neurocoaching methods take away some linkages and put new ones in their place. So they're double the power effectively. Hypnotherapy is trying to overlay a new pattern, but it doesn't do much to remove the old one. So great question, Peter. Thank you. So what do we get by doing a course like Flow? Flow will give you your own personal profile and an hour's debrief with my Flow consultant. That in itself is worth the entry cost as well, because that gives you the understanding of, oh, thank you, Rob. Rob's put a link in the chat. That gives you the understanding. Rob was the one who had to deal with HMRC this morning, by the way, guys. Thank you, Rob. Loving you. So in terms of doing the hard yards, the profile does a lot of that for you, because it teaches you whether you're the cheater, that one that runs at 70 miles an hour, or stops flat out of the shade needing to recover, with that brain that goes, I'm running. Oh, gazelle over there, and gets distracted and pulls yourself offline because you just got excited about something else. Or whether you're the lion, which is all about connectivity and people and fighting for people because that's what you live for. Or whether you're the leopard, who's all about precision and systems and contract. Don't mess this one up, because loyalty is everything to a leopard. Or the tiger, that really steely efficiency. Process is way more important than people. You know, they want to fit people into a process, and don't mess with my process because that is inflexible. That is what should be law. So whichever brain type you are and what percentage you are makes a massive difference as to what type of business you build. So I've helped people where they've come to me and said, I don't understand why my business isn't working. We've done their profile, and then we've gone, because you're running a lion business and you're a tiger brain. And sometimes we have to make radical shifts, like bringing in another team, taking them off the sales calls altogether. So these things have to be factored in. Flow is a course all about you. So it is a group course, but you do get these Q&As integrated into it. And I think there's 2 in Flow, actually. There's one halfway through and one at the end. So all in all, we'll be working together for 4 weeks. So that's all of September, to get you started strong for Q4. And then at the end, it leads directly into Money Magnet, which is a massive course that I run about money blocks. So when sometimes we're self-sabotaging, it can be because you're out of flow with specifically the money quadrant. And so if you sign up to Flow at the founder offer, which is a really huge discount actually, so it's normally 3333, so 3,333, but the founders get it at 2222. So if you get on board with me now, before the 1st of September, when the price goes up, you get that, and you get a discount off Money Magnet if you choose to carry on working with me. So it's a great reason to come on board now. And for those of you that are coming on now, that personal profile, there's going to be a bonus introduction call before we actually start Flow that helps you unpack that as well. So you get loads of goodies with this. I'm also throwing in, for those of you in Genius U, because I love you guys, my procrastination masterpiece, which is a PDF which has the consequences grid on it, which explains exactly how to get out of your own way. So that's a brilliant thing. Actually, screw it, I'll throw that in for anyone that signs up to my mailing list today, just so we can stay in touch if you want to. That's on my website. If you go to my website, there's a sign up button there that you can, if you jump on my mailing list today, I'll ping you that as a freebie, just as a little summer gift for you. So I've got to pull this to a close. So I'll finish by saying, flow state sounds really complicated. I make it very simple. I make it very clear as to exactly what you personally need to do. That's because I link it to your Big Cat Business Brain. Peter's asking, is there a way to get that test for us to do with the Big Cats? Yes, Peter, I sell that separately. That is, I think it's up at, is it $599 USD? I can't remember, but that comes with an hour with my Flow consultant. And yes, you can absolutely do that on its own, but it does come rolled in with Flow the quantum mind. So in flow, what we're also going to be talking about is this idea of quantum leaping through time, this idea of collapsing time. The quantum field fascinates me. It's one of the biggest scientific areas of research at the moment, is about this idea of the quantum field and how to unlock this effortless manifesting that some of us seem to be able to do and others really struggle with. And I've done a lot of work into it. I've been on lots of courses myself. I've been on lots of trainings. I've had a coach in it, and it's fascinating. And I've packaged all that down into a module to give you the stuff that I know is proven, to give you the stuff that I know relates to science, because that's where I come from. I'm from the science world. I'm actually a vet by trade. For those of you that haven't met me before, I got a degree from Cambridge University in behaviour before I then started coaching people after a car crash left me unable to do surgery. So my journey's been a very universe-led one, where I believe I'm on this planet to take the very complex and make it simple for you guys, so you can start using this in your businesses straight away, as I've been able to do since leaving the vetty field. So all of my stuff is research backed. Everything I do is proven by science and has an element of the spiritual in it, because we know so much that we're not doing yet, but so much of that is still seen as a bit woo. I integrate the science and the woo. So if this excites you as much as it excites me, come on board. The founder offer is open now. The page is live. I think Rob's kindly put that link in there and the link to the profile. So if this has been thrilling to you as it is to me, I will see you on the inside. I'm here for the next, oh, we've got 5 whole minutes. That's excellent. 5 whole minutes for any questions. If anyone wants to unpack anything that we've talked about today, whether we can dive a little bit more into autotelic, if that's of interest to people. But the biggest thing that I want to leave you with is that wherever you are on your journey, please stay in touch with me. Please make sure you do sign up to my mailing list so that we've got you in our little gang. Please make sure you're in the circle. And if this has excited you, do leave me a review, either on Google or on the circle in Genius U, because I love hearing those. And there's a massive competition between all the mentors on Genius U, and everyone's got way more than me because I always forget to ask for that bit. So if you feel like it, and if this stuff has been useful to you today, thank you for listening and putting your eyes here when they could be anywhere on the internet. And I shall hand back to Duncan. Oh, Duncan.
Well, you caught me out. You caught me out because I was just I was on another screen bringing up
Duncan, you're too timing me.
Profile.
What are you doing?
So there's the link to Libby's profile, as you mentioned.
Oh, you know, thank you. Amazing.
Please do. It means a lot. A 5-star review over there. So yeah, thank you very much for another beautiful session, and of course, thanks to everybody who's here with us live, and all those who I'm sure will be watching the recording. And we'll see you next month.
Will do. Thanks, everyone.
See you, everyone. Bye-bye.